Hello and welcome back to the Weird and Proud podcast.
James.
Oh,
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 whoops.
oh. It's Sam and
James.
you can. Do you do that on purpose?
No.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow. Moo. That's what that
I
reminded me
love
of.
that one.
That's so classic.
I love that one.
Classic. Hi, everybody. Happy August. August Taylor Swift. Hopefully, you're playing that song. Hopefully, you're getting excited for the new season to come. My favorite season of all the seasons. It's this time of year where things get, a little melancholy, if you will.
You are an absolute fall girly.
I'm a fall girly for life.
You love the outfits.
I love the outfits, the weather, when it's cooler. I love the spookiness. Halloween is one of my favorite holidays.
It's coming up on your birthday.
Yep, I love Thanksgiving. It's just like coming towards the end of the year always is my favorite time.
I think. And then once December hits, you don't mind winter. You like winter. I think it gets long for you.
Yeah, by February, I'm like, let's.
But you do love a good fall.
But
Like
I
you
love a
get
good
super
fall.
excited for fall.
I think most people would agree with me, though. Would you? I don't know. Comment below. Letting me know if you also like fall. If I had to range the seasons, I would say fall first, spring,
You put
maybe winter, summer.
spring above. You put winter above summer.
Mm-hmm.
Now wait, I know you really well. In the fall, spring, I would have guessed.
Well, here's the thing. Like,
but you
July
gotta tell
in the
me.
summer is the worst. Like, I love January. I like December.
You do love December. You like, not just because it's Christmas season. I really do think you enjoy
just the vibes. Vibes
Yeah.
are high, I feel like you can eat whatever you want. Like, we're in the treats. It's like the season of the treats. How would you rank your seasons? Would you put summer first? I feel like you're
No.
winter.
Well, I mean, I like. It's so hard. Weirdly enough, I put spring last.
Interesting. Okay.
I can see the summer winter argument. Fall, it's falls, but we've always agreed fall's our favorite.
Yeah.
I
think most
add
people.
football into that
Of
as
course,
part of mine.
Of course.
The football season is upon us. It is. We are
Peak.
balls deep in fantasy football
balls are
draft
going
right
hard.
now. Oh yeah, and so I go fall. The reason I do like a summer is it's a very relaxed time, but you know how I feel about heat and stuff.
Yeah.
But having outdoor parties and barbecues and beers are always really nice.
Yeah.
But I do like wintertime a lot. Just know how I feel about a good
can
snow.
you just list them out?
I'm gonna go fall. I do have to go fall, winter, summer, spring.
Wow, you heard it here first, folks.
I can't miss out on winter. That's the thing. Like, if I lived somewhere that was like Florida or somewhere that doesn't have winter, no, thank you.
Totally. What do you guys think? Comment below. Sorry, we just went off. I was just curious. That's just an interesting question to ask people. I feel like you can learn a lot about someone by asking them that question. I feel like that tells a lot about someone.
Your answers were interesting. Treats and kind of relaxed season in the holidays.
Yeah,
I can see you do love the holiday times.
I really do. But I hope everyone is having a great week so far. We have such a good episode for you guys. Sorry to go off the rails, but we do have a great episode. I have something that I need to walk you guys through that is really important for all of you to know about, and that is the Noah Presgrove case. And I had mentioned this a little bit on Instagram. This is like the new crazy, weird case that a lot of the online, true crime people are talking about. It's so bizarre. It's a mix of like the Murdaugh family with a little bit of Karen Reed. It's really interesting. So I'm going to dive all up in there and tell you guys what's been going on, give you a backstory of that. And I think this will also be a Netflix contender. But listen, I feel like Netflix has it easy with the amount of crazy cases that are going on right now. It's like there's just too much to go around. And even some more updates, Karen Reed case is actually, they're going to have a hearing next week to decide about going through trial again. all over again, which will be really interesting. Which you haven't read up on that. We have a couple podcasts episodes up on the Karen retrial too. But this is just one of those cases. This Noah Presgrove, it's just starting. I'm starting to see more and more of it on social media. And it's just a really interesting case. So we're going to dive deep into that. James obviously has a nice little science corner for everybody. And of course, we have some really good secrets too, as well, per usual. But before we officially dive in, just super quick, we have some shows coming up and added a new show. So we're coming back to Maine.
Main show.
Been trying to set this up and schedule this, but Thursday, August 29th, we're going to be at Empire Comedy Club, which is in Portland, Maine. So it's Thursday night, 8 p.m. And you can get your tickets now, SamanthaRamsdale.com/events. And the other next one coming up is we're going to Pottstown, Pennsylvania, this Wednesday, August 7th at 8 p.m. So I know it's a Wednesday night, but listen, we'll make it worth your while. And we're going to bring the doggos. By the way, I meant to tell you this. They said we could bring the dogs if we want to the venue.
Amazing.
So if you come, I know this comes out like 2 days before, but if you want to come, you can meet Peach and Prue. And that's worth any drive and going out on a Wednesday night, if I do say so myself. Also, before we officially dive in, it would mean the absolute world to us if you've been listening for a while, if you're enjoying our episodes, enjoying the content, if you could go ahead and give us a 5-star review or at least 4 stars, something around there. It does so much for the rankings and for helping more people find our podcast. And it would just mean so much to us. So make sure you give a 5-star review, depending on what platform you're listening on. Make sure you're following along. And we love you guys. Thank you for all the support. Make sure you're following to Weird and Proud Pod on Instagram. You'll see clips and different things from the episodes each week. And I think that's it. We also, too, just got back from camping. So if you see us on the camera, we are looking a little crunchy.
Look a little rough around the edges.
A little rough. If you saw on Instagram, I had a show in the Hamptons, which actually ended up being a great turnout.
Such a fun show.
Thank you for everyone that ended up coming out. I know it was such like a weird kind of event, but especially the night Trump had come to Long Island, almost every major route was shut down. Like, it was just pretty much chaos trying to get down there.
So much fun.
But it ended up being so much fun.
Yes.
And everyone who came, we appreciate it so much. We got a little toasty afterwards. And then we came back to our tent and got stuck in a thunderstorm.
Another storm.
Because that's just
simple. That's
how
what we
things go when we go away. I feel like there's not been like a trip that we've been on recently that something crazy didn't happen. Or like it wasn't some sort of like unprecedented event or like, we just feel like there's never been like some sort of holiday or like time we've went away where everything went smoothly. But you know what? It makes for great content.
We get to share life. It's so much fun that way.
It does make things more exciting, like we were
sitting
out.
You can't make it up. It's not like it's fake.
Yeah, no, like the lightning that was happening. I've never seen lightning in a thunderstorm like what happened when we were tenting. And the tent we were in is made of metal poles, so I'm like, there's like this is the worst place to be in a thunderstorm, in a tent with metal poles right out in the open.
They probably thought that through. I'm guessing they were grounded somehow. I hope so.
Yeah. Anyways.
Well, it ran into the ground. We probably would have maybe a little fire, but we probably could have got out of there.
Oh my God. Anyway, yeah. But it made for an exciting weekend. And yeah, make sure you check that out. I think I did save those to highlight. So if you want to watch us suffering again in a tent, it's on my Instagram, SamRamsdale5. Hopefully you're already following that. I would hope. All right, guys. I think it's time. We've chatted. We've done enough. We've dillied. We've dallied. And we have a really important case to talk about. Okay. So I don't know if any of you guys have heard of this case yet, the Noah Presgrove case. Have you even?
No idea what this is.
I was just going to say, there's no way you have. This is, again, something that has come up on some true crime podcasts that I listen to. Another girl does a really in-depth analysis. Her podcast is called Serialously, like serial Serial, seriously. Annalise, and she actually does a really great job too. If you guys listen to her, she does obviously all true crime, but this case was just too weird to pass up to chat with you guys about. So, this is the case of Noah. He was found dead on the side of a highway, Highway 81 in Oklahoma, on September 4th, 2023. He is 19 years he was, sorry, RIP Noah. He was found in the fetal position on the side of the road at about 6 a.m. on the Monday morning of Labor Day weekend. And it was like originally when he was found actually by a trucker that was driving early in the morning, saw him on the side of the road, called, of course, the police, and it was initially ruled a hit and run. But not too long after, they realized there are way too many weird things going on. There's way too much evidence pointing towards it not just being a hit and run, and there being some more devious tendencies.
Did they say what they found?
You know they did, James. So, all right, just to give a little bit of backstory. So Noah's 19, just graduated high school. Again, this is like kind of like the last hurrah before these kids go either to school or whatever they're gonna do after high school. And Noah was super talented. He was a jock. He played all these sports. He was super popular in school. He was a super cutie. Like, he was a cute kid, very popular. Again, everyone loved him. Everyone said he was a good kid. He was a wrestler, super good at wrestling. He played football. He was a pretty big kid and like super athletic.
Okay.
And this is in like a small town in Oklahoma, which kind of like why this reminds me too a little bit of like the Murdaugh.
The Murdaugh. Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to ask like what
controversies.
elements of Murdaugh. I was going to ask that at the end. I'm glad you're bringing it in now.
Yeah.
What elements of the Murdaugh murders, if
And
you
I
haven't
will
seen,
tell
check
you
it out.
right now.
And the Karen.
So Labor Day weekend, one of the girls that Noah went to high school with and was friends with, her name was Avery Combs, and good friends with Noah. She was another like popular girl in school, and she was like having, which this is like kind of wild, but I guess we would do this as kids. She was having like a weekend long party at her house that weekend. And her family, the Combs family, was a really big influential family in the area. They had huge amount of lands. Like, the name Combs was just known everywhere. Like, everyone knew that family, and they have a lot of friends in high places. She was also pretty wealthy. Like, they owned a lot of big businesses in the area. And she was this pretty girl and was going off to college in the fall. And they had about, again, she was like, her parents were pretty chill. Like, in this area, her parents, even though of course they were underage, her parents were like, as long as people aren't driving, you guys can stay here. They can stay overnight, and you guys, can kind of party as your last hurrah. And so it was Friday night, Saturday night. People are coming, going. They say probably overall like 40 people were coming and going from her house. And then it comes to Sunday night. So this is Sunday night before Labor Day weekend. And Noah had been coming and going all weekend. A bunch of his friends obviously were all there, coming and going. And on Sunday, he really didn't want to go, but his friends were all begging him. And his best friend, Jack, was texting him all day, like, come on, come to the party. It's the last night. This is the last time we can all really hang out together before people leave for school. And he's like, okay, I'll go. So his friends come pick him up, bring him to the house. And again, this is Sunday night. He was found dead the next Monday morning at 5 a.m., like around 5 a.m., 5:36 a.m. on the side of the road. What's crazy too about this is when Noah was found, he was found completely naked. He had mismatched shoes on, and his body was so badly damaged that it looked like one of the medical examiners said it looked like he had been beaten to death basically by multiple people with multiple different blunt objects. He again was completely naked, but there was a pair of white shorts that was folded and placed about a foot from him. He had stick figures and like things written in permanent ink all over his body. Huge clumps of his hair were found like a couple feet from him, and there's a clump of his own hair found like on his back. And a lot of his like pretty gruesome details, but almost all of his teeth too were knocked out, and they were also found like not too far away
Sounds
from him.
horrible.
Horrible. But what is so weird and why they were like, okay, this can't be a hit and run is because no parts of a vehicle were found. It really looked like he was placed there in the fetal position. Like he was kind of curled up in the fetal position on the like about a right off the side of the road of this highway. He had some gravel burn on his back, but nothing that like would have probably been if he'd been really like dragged and hit by a car enough to kill him. And it was placed so weird and so perfectly in the fetal position that they changed it from a hit and run to suspicious death. And now the weird thing is like with this party, like of course all these kids were drinking. They're underage. Like they already are like kind of being really really weird about it. And of course a lot of it was being Snapchatted, like they're all on social media, and this happened September 2023. So they're all on Snapchat, they're making, TikToks and videos, and you can see a lot of insight from that night that obviously a lot of them were drinking. They were writing in marker on each other. They were, just doing what kids do, doing a bunch of stupid stuff. But it's just too weird of like how he was found and like the damage that was done to him. Like the medical examiner was like, these are multiple things that could have murdered him. Like he would not have survived if someone found him. Like his skull was like caved in.
Oh,
I know. Sorry
don't be
if you're
sorry.
like
It's just
eating. Both lungs were collapsed. He had multiple 12 broken ribs. He had abrasions all over his back, on his hands, on his face, and he had no drugs in his system, but he did have a 0.14 blood alcohol. So
super
he
high.
was really drunk.
0.08 is like legal limit from a lot of
over
places.
twice the legal
So
limit. So it's just like a really sad thing. So it's like, okay, what the heck happened to this poor kid? So again, a lot of people look to Jack, who was Noah's best friend, who was there the whole night, who was always with him. They were always together. And they get some insights to the party, again, from Snapchat, from social media, and from some of the kids. But again, a lot of these stories and like what the kids are saying are mismatched. People change their story. People, they'll say one thing and then they'll be like, actually, maybe it was this way. Maybe this happened. It's just like kind of a shit show. But they all did admit to playing a game called Fight Club. And this is like just stupid games that kids play. They get to take turns basically hitting each other or punching each other.
Okay.
Like it's again the stupid stuff. Did you ever do any like stupid
oh yeah, we had Monday Night Fight Night where we used to get some of the guys that took Taekwondo would bring like their boxing mitts over and we'd beat the crap out of each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We would when I think back, we used to do this thing. I forget like the exact name for it, but it was something like monkey seas, or it was like sea monkeys. I can't remember what the exact name, but it was weird. It was like one girl would push you against the wall, like basically choke you out, make you hold your breath, and you would hold it and choke the other person for 30 seconds, and like you could try and like lift them off their feet if you could, and then you'd let go, and like you would like hallucinate from basically like having no oxygen to your
so
brain.
you'd almost
So you'd
murder
basically
each other.
murder each other.
I'll take the beating of the heads with the Taekwondo stuff.
Like it's just like stuff that you do that you're like, that's insane. Like kids are just stupid. I actually, funny enough, never did that. But like, I remember I had a birthday, and there, like some of the girls that were there were like, "Let's do." I forget, it was like Monkey Seas game, and I'm like,
really? You didn't want to do it?
no,
No, that sounds good for you.
But but there were some people who were doing it. So stupid. But they were doing, so they were doing this Fight Club version, their own version of it, and there were also rumors that Jack and Noah had been fighting a little bit that night. Apparently, Noah had been hitting on Jack's girlfriend. Her name was Carter, and he wasn't happy about it. They got a little physical, but apparently, Jack says he was over it. It was nothing that, went on for very long. So there's just like a bunch of also really sketchy things, and again, most of it was they were just partying all night, drinking a lot of weed, of course. Um, but apparently around 3 a.m., they wanted to go riding on ATVs, which, of course, these kids being a bunch of drinks in. Noah got on one of these ATVs and he flipped it over, apparently, from what the other party goers say. But he was fine. Like, he didn't really hurt himself. He just got himself all dirty. And a bunch of girls there at the party were like, all right, let's go wash you up, because he was so inebriated. They took him to the shower, and apparently that was kind of giving hints onto why he might have been naked, is because he had just gotten out of the shower. The girls had helped wash him down, wash all the dirt off from flipping the ATV. But who knows? They also, some other kids say, well, no, he did put his clothes back on after he showered and he was acting totally fine. He really wasn't that drunk. So where it starts to get sketchy and what they think happened and what the other party goers kind of are alluding to is that after he flips the ATV, he goes to take a shower. Then he's like, he really wants to go to bed, Noah. And the main girl at the party, what's her name? What did I just say? Her name was Avery Combs. Noah was trying to get into her bed and was trying to like get into a bed to sleep. And Avery was like, you can't sleep in a bed, you can only sleep on a floor. And that was apparently when he started to get mad and was like, then I'm leaving. And he was like, I'm walking home. And he left the party. They say around like 3:30, 3:45 a.m. or maybe even between 3:15 to 3:45. But he lives 30 miles away from where Avery's house was. So other people are like, there's no way, like, even if he was super drunk, there was no way he would have thought that was a good idea to walk home inebriated, apparently naked, at 3 in the morning. And Avery lived out in the middle of nowhere. Like, it was very rural area. So he was gonna have to go through the woods, like through basically like a swamp to even get to where he was on this Highway 81 when he woke up the next morning. So other things that were kind of weird that were happening at the time is at 3:41, a girl who was at the party Snapchatted a picture of her looking confused and said, Noah's missing.
A picture of who? Avery?
No, it was just another girl. Her name was Jasmine.
Okay.
So one of the girls who was still at the party Snapchats a picture of herself, Jasmine, going, we're missing Noah. Noah's missing. And, apparently Jack had said he went to bed at 1 a.m. because he had to wake up early to go fishing with his dad. So he was in bed with Avery. So he wasn't awake for any of this for when Noah left or for the ATV accident.
Who was Jack dating?
He was dating a girl named Carter.
But he went to bed with Avery?
I mean, I'm sorry. He went to bed with Carter. Sorry, Avery and Carter are sisters, too, to get that all
okay, so
layered.
Wait. So Carter, Jack's girlfriend,
is sisters with Avery, who owns the place. So technically, Avery and Carter live at that house.
Noah was hitting on Carter at one time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
These are part of my
I know.
questions.
Sorry. No. That's
You're
important.
Fine. I just want to keep it straight.
It is good to get the names straight. Yeah. Sorry. So Jack says he was asleep in bed with his girlfriend Carter at her house, and he was supposed to wake up at 5 a.m. to go fishing with his dad. So he was just not awake for any of this. There were rumors too that Jack's dad, Caleb, who he was supposed to go fishing with that morning, had been like coming and going from the party as well. Apparently he had been there that night, Sunday night at some point, and was apparently hooking up with one of the girls. And, she was 18, he's 50 something.
Very much an Oklahoma story.
Yeah. So there was just some weird rumors. There were some rumors too that apparently Jack's dad, Caleb, had some of Noah's teeth in his pocket. He had thrown out, he was like, what is this? And threw out one of Jack's teeth out of his pocket. And also just some other like sketchy things. Like of course people are gonna be like, what do you think? I think, of course, something happened with these kids, and I think there's something sketchy with Jack. Him and Noah were best friends, but they were fight a lot. They were kind of 19-year-old boys. They would fight and they would make up, and they kind of had this underlying jealousy, I think, too, of each other. And I think there was this issue with the girlfriend, Carter. But it was just weird, like that morning too. When they woke up, around 5:15 in the morning, another one of the party goers who was there was a guy named Caden who was sleeping over. Caleb said that Jack busted through the doors of the bedrooms first thing in the morning at like 5:15 and said, "Oh my God, Noah's dead. Noah's dead." And the truckers didn't find Noah until like 5:30. So they're like, how did Jack know that? But of course, like, it's just tough when it's like a bunch of these underage kids who are drinking. You can't really prove that he said that. And of course, Jack says, I never said that. It's a lot of he said, she said, and there's really no exact solid evidence yet of what happened. There's just all these kind of sketchy rumors and sketchy stories. Like another thing was they wanted an open casket for Noah's funeral just to show how bad it was and to kind of send a message like, you guys need to start talking and someone knows what happened to him. And Jack was texting with another friend, and this other friend was texting Jack being like, oh my God, that was so sad, like that's so crazy. There's no way that that was a hit and run based on what he looks like. And Jack was like, I no, I don't think there's any way that it could not be a hit and run. Like it has to be a hit and run. I loved Noah. Me and Noah were so close. We were best friends. We were basically brothers. Like I just want justice for him. I would never do anything to hurt him. And the guy was like, oh, whoa, okay. But so it's just like little things like that people are like, huh, that's kind of interesting. And on top of it, too, again, like Jack was supposed to wake up really early that morning at 5 to go fishing with his dad. He was supposed to meet his dad around 6 a.m. But around like 5:45 a.m., Jack texts his dad, Caleb, and is like, I'm going to be running late. I slept in a little too late. I'll be there after, probably like 6:30. And then not too long after that, he calls his dad like 10 minutes later and is like, oh, hey, I like, I don't know what happened, but I saw Noah on the side of the road. I just was driving to your place and something happened to Noah. I got to stay here. And then Caleb, his dad, came and was like, I'll meet you there. So it's just like, I don't know, some sketchy things going on. What do you think? Any questions?
We have something really, really big to talk about.
Yeah.
The
What?
teeth in the pocket. What the hell? Tell me more about that. Wait, there's a lot of sketchiness, and I realize that we're getting this third hand from these true crime podcasters are fantastic.
And it's a lot
But
of
wait,
social media.
what
too.
the hell's going on with the teeth in the pocket? Tell me
Well,
more.
again, like some people say, there are people, once the scenes start to get crazy and like, it's 6 a.m., more and more people are starting to drive by, more people are hearing.
Who witnessed the teeth in the pocket?
Just a guy named Caden, who also went to the scene to go find out what's going on, and said that he saw Caleb, Jack's dad, pull teeth out from his pocket and throw them on the ground.
Is this guy testifying to that in court?
So they're technically not going to court yet. They still technically haven't brought anyone to court. It's still an open case.
Do they have this jacket to test it for DNA?
No, I don't think so. I don't. So like now is at the point where like the police, it's starting, because it's been building so much pressure, because now like the family is starting to get really pissed. Like the police like stopped looking into it because they haven't been able to find enough evidence.
My question will be also, how much, because there's so little evidence, let's play the weather game. Never blame the weatherman, but do blame the I want you to watch my weather program. Here's what I mean. I love the true crime podcasters, but this story seems to be a lot with very little proof of anything. Are they embellishing stuff a little bit to make it seem better?
Well, I mean, all of this stuff is what's been put on social media by kids.
Okay.
By the kids.
By the kids?
Yeah. Like Caden had gone online and wrote in a Facebook post, I saw Caleb Jack's dad throw out teeth.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now, okay. This is helpful. Not to blame the podcasters. I apologize for that. But that is important to know where that came from. Like, it is out in the digital world on a platform that he might have to answer to sitting on a witness stand at some point.
Yes.
Okay. Now we're getting somewhere.
Yes.
It's also interesting with oh boy, no, I'm gonna get the names wrong.
Who?
What was Noah's friend?
Jack.
Jack wanting him to come to the party so bad.
Right.
And then the whole dad thing, like, where was the proof that they were really supposed to go fishing the next morning?
Text messages, Facebook, like, again, all these people are going on and like trying to defend themselves on Facebook. Like,
oh, sure.
Caleb, Jack's dad, made this huge Facebook post, and you can go on, like, again, if you go to the Seriously Crime podcast, she has all the screenshots. Like, these are like paragraphs long of people trying to just like to justify what they were doing and describing. This is all things that are like put in writing in some way, shape, or form, or shown on social media.
I think that the people writing more just give me more reason to investigate them.
Right.
Like,
also on top of that too, so that morning, again, once Jack blows through the doors and says Noah's dead, of course everyone starts freaking out. People are trying to go to the crime scene. People are going to their phones. Some parents show up of some of the kids and make them all factory reset their phones. So everyone's phone has been factory reset. The only evidence they have is like if someone screenshotted the snapshot, but like they have no phone calls. They have no.
Why would the parents do that?
Because, the parents say, well, we're nervous they were underage drinking. We didn't want them to get in trouble. Also, they started cleaning the entire house, bleaching the entire house, which of course, they can say, well, it was a party. Like, we wanted to clean up. But, it's just a little crazy.
This is an interesting one.
Right? And they brought on a specialist too. This guy, Dr. Fisher, he's like an emergency medical examiner specialist to look, if anyone's been through like a traumatic event, he specializes in that. And what he says, based off looking at Noah's autopsy and looking at his body, says he was probably hit with multiple things by different people multiple times. He says it's weird there wasn't more blood at the scene itself. He was like, his body was definitely moved. Also, his lower body was completely untouched. So if he was hit by a car,
then there's no way.
He would have broken legs. He would, and again, he had no pants on, and like his legs looked fine. He was naked, but like,
so people were beating him on the upper body.
Or you'd also too, he's like, you would probably lose your shoes. Like, the fact he had shoes on, he was naked. It's just way too weird. Also, apparently this is a rumor. It's not in writing anywhere, but Jack had gone back to the house looking for, or I don't know if it was Jack, it was one of the kids, but there were apparently some golf clubs that were missing.
Now that was going to be my next question. Like, what's in Caleb's truck? What's around, right?
Yeah.
There's too much surrounding him with this.
Yep.
Right? Where the father-son thing doesn't mean he's involved, but there's a cover-up potential.
Well, that's what, some sort of cover-up. Again, maybe it was a fight gone wrong that went too far.
Because if you're going fishing with your dad the next morning, I'm sorry, but your dad isn't coming to the party that you're at. So if he was really there,
it's all weird.
Like that right there, that detail to me, I was at a graduation party drinking, and Dad and I were going fishing the next morning.
Yep.
Dad was in bed sleeping, and I knew I was going to have to get up hungover, but still just make it on time and go fishing.
Yep.
Right? Like, any dad isn't taking you fishing the next morning if he's coming to the party with you.
Right.
Like, you and him might go to breakfast, you and him might get up late, but if he's that, like, that's a kind of a weird relationship. But if he's partying with you and you're 18, right?
Yeah.
And he's maybe sleeping, how much proof was there that he's dating the dad's?
Someone had seen the dad hooking up with a girl in a bathroom.
Okay. So the dad's like actively participating in this party.
It's all very weird.
That to me, that's enough weird and cover up needed.
Yeah.
That
something weird was happening, something weird was going on. But keep your eyes out for this case because, eventually I think it is the point where the police are probably keeping things under wraps. They're interviewing, they're maybe getting search warrants for stuff that we just
Oh, they
don't know
have to.
about. But this might be the next Netflix or the next big case that's coming
What's
up.
the name
So
of it again for the people?
Noah Presgrove
Noah
is his name.
Presgrove.
Yeah. And again, there's a couple true crime podcasts, but the one that I thought was really good was the Seriously.
The way you described the screenshots she takes from social media,
Yeah, and again, you can
that's
see
really
all these
smart.
screenshots. You can see the Snapchat stories and see some of this, because that's obviously very telling. Is a lot of this, digital footprint that they left behind because that's really all that they have because they factory reset all their phones. And again, the kids, because they were doing underage drinking,
They were
probably
trying to
doing some
protect
drugs and
themselves at
stuff.
some point.
Yeah, but also like if your friend was dead, if they really like loved Noah and were really good friends with him, like you would
think that one or two maybe didn't.
right, or like you would think too, the police would be like, we don't care that you like were drinking
And
beers or smoking weed.
I think that
like you're not gonna get in trouble for whatever.
I
Having a couple
100%, and again, I could be wrong, I'm not a police officer, but I 100% think as long as you're cooperating, you just have your attorney, right? You're
right,
you cannot be charged with underage drinking, or I don't care what drugs you took.
right.
Just what information
Yeah,
do
there's
you
some
have?
sort of law that is in.
What's called immunity.
Well, yeah, but there was also like this law too. I remember in college, it was like if you ever like called something and be like something's happening at this party, or someone, something happened to this person, and you were either drinking or even like if you've been driving drunk or doing drugs or
You can
something,
still be.
you would never get in trouble for that.
I can
For
see
like what you
for helping to report something.
yeah.
That's
I
it's
forget
kind
what
of
it's
helping the
called.
greater good, so to
Yeah,
speak.
but I think a lot of colleges
My
did that,
question is, there's in my mind, again, I didn't have high school. I didn't have cell phones in high school, so I guess I am in no place to say this. But what do you think is the reality of every kid there really factory wiping their phone?
apparently they did, or like a lot of them, the police asked them to turn in their phones, and like some of the kids turned in their parents' phone, and then they went and deleted a bunch of stuff. So
Still,
I don't know.
I wonder if there's a way to still track more of it.
I'm sure there is.
Because
I'm sure they're
especially,
in it.
yeah,
Because it's not like this happened that long ago either. It was less than a year ago, and again for
yeah.
a couple months too. They thought it was just a hit and run until the LE specialists look into it, and they're like, okay, maybe not. Maybe this is something.
Yeah,
more.
if they get their hands on the phones and SIM cards, I'm guessing they'll find more.
Yeah.
And again, for the simpler one for me is there's no way. If somebody there was a friend of Jack, I think they would have done more to keep whatever evidence they have.
Yeah.
The Snapchat one where a girl said Jack's missing, that one is interesting to me. I would want to know more about that, because if there are these answers of, oh, Jack passed out in bed, or oh, Jack tried to walk home, or whatever other stories are out there, which I've heard of both times. Noah.
Yeah.
Noah. Sorry. Yep. No, I got a name wrong.
I know.
When whether Noah tried to walk home or Noah's sleeping in a bed, somebody would have an answer for that.
Right.
It would be so much more sketchy if there were no answer for that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyways, what do you guys think? Have you guys heard of this? What are your thoughts? Curious to see what ends up happening here. And obviously, if they do, the family has a GoFundMe to try and raise money to get a private investigator, because it's also like a small town in Oklahoma. Like a lot of these cops just like down there just like also don't have the expertise, or it's.
And I have a few other questions. Who are the girls that supposedly showered him?
So a lot of them too just like don't want to talk.
Yeah.
Like they said they showered him, and they're like, I don't know where he went. And then we all like
but
passed
who
out.
Showered him?
Just like a couple of girls who were like his friends.
Well, I'm just wondering if it was the girls that lived there, and if that sparked something.
No,
okay.
They didn't say if it was. I think they would have mentioned that. But again, it's just,
Okay.
And of course, all of them were drunk too. So a lot of them are like, also like, I don't remember. Like I was really drunk.
And I'm sure that's not all of them are lying. I'm sure some of them barely do remember, right?
Yeah.
And somebody going missing at a party in high school isn't that big a deal. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Until that person shows up the road dead.
Yes.
Then it's a big deal.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyways, curious to see what you guys think, and we'll keep you posted too if we hear more. But Crazy and very sad. Obviously, RIP to this poor kid. That's why it's just so, it's just like crazy. Like just a small town, kids having fun, just like one of those parties. It's like we've all been to them. We all would go to them, and it's crazy to think that I don't know, some sort of cover up,
Oh, something's
something
covered
would
up in
arise.
this one.
Someone knows something. So we will keep you guys posted. All right, James. That was a long one, but do you want to go over your science corner?
We could do something quick.
Yeah, do something quick because I know we're up on it.
Do you want to hear another tale of the deep, dark, scary ocean?
Yeah.
So, in one of the in the most expansive part of the ocean that's very unexplored, between say Hawaii and Japan, so
Okay.
out there in the middle of the Pacific, right?
Yeah.
There's like a 4.3 million square something area
Okay.
where there are these little basically they're like, I think the phrase is battery rocks down there at the bottom.
Okay.
They're 4,000 meters down, which is mile is about 1,600 meters.
Yeah.
So if you do the math, we're talking about 2.25 miles, something like that, down below the ocean.
Okay.
And one of the reasons these rocks were so important is because they are they're about the size of a potato, and
Okay.
there's trillions of them down there, or millions of them, maybe trillions, and they are chocked full of like copper, selenium, molybdenum, basically a lot of the elements to build batteries and battery storage for
Oh, I was gonna say, I
electric
was like, where does the
cars.
battery come from? Okay.
Yeah. So that's where these come from. Is at the time it was thought, we always as humans think, oh, it's in the earth, we can use it, we should mine it,
Yep.
right? I could get very to the earth side of it, which of course we all know I'm on the side of the earth, not the dumb decisions we make. But the importance of these is not just that they had all these different elements, they also had a very small electrical charge. And much like we've talked about CERN and the Hadron Collider and God's particle, much like we've talked about elements in other moons and or planets that may have forms of alien life. We're not talking like aliens that can walk around, but like maybe even bacteria, right?
Yep.
Is that these little rocks at the bottom of the ocean actually produce oxygen, which is something they hydrolyze water, meaning they break apart the H2O. So how that got found is probably in 2013. They were doing deep ocean studies, and they were like, top of the ocean, lots of oxygen. As you go down, less oxygen. Then they got to the bottom of the ocean and they found a bunch of oxygen, and they're like, no, 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 the sensors must be wrong. The pressure must be throwing off the sensors. No, these little rocks are making oxygen, meaning they could be another place that life could have started. So for your alien theory that you love, right? Now, that also means that other rocks of frozen water, Europa is one of Jupiter's moons that is basically all full of ice, and there are heat elements down below the ice that could cause liquid water that could create, again, our standards of life is something similar to human life. So the idea of that is very helpful in your alien theory. But the other thing that it's helpful in is maybe that was part of the creation synthesis. Now, again, I'm not here to tell you about religion, meaning creation. Creation elements could have been anything. Maybe that was a part of creation, was at the bottom of the ocean. They used to think it was from the volcanic ducts at the bottom of the ocean because there's all these amazing bacteria that live down there. But if there's these little rocks that can out of nowhere produce oxygen, that is an absolutely groundbreaking thing that humans had no idea could have happened
How
before.
did this just come up? Like, was it just something you saw? Like, why is this relevant
They're
now?
just finding out that these are actually producing significant amount of oxygen.
Oh, okay.
That's why it's relevant now. So back to the good earth side of it. So of course, there's all these companies that are doing deep sea mining, right?
Right.
These companies also want to eventually space mine. The smart thing that a lot of these Mars, really what Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, they do want to, say they want to colonize Mars. Really finding more elements and minerals in space that we don't have to mine from Earth is probably a good thing if we can't change our ways a little bit. But now we have these things in the bottom of the ocean that have all these wonderful elements, so we don't have to destroy the land that we live on. But what happens if we keep taking those things and it does start to destroy the balance of the ocean? Because that oxygen down there has been there for billions of years.
Yep.
What happens when we remove some of those oxygen producing things to the health of the ocean? That's the question that we're in. Now, that's the part I was trying to stay away from, to not get too political, but I love to throw that stuff in when I can. However, I think that it's really important for us to think about, one, to know that cool stuff like that exists.
Yeah.
All the things that you have talked about before, you love the creepy, weird stuff that's so far down in the ocean.
Oh my God, no.
We have no.
I'm also terrified, but yes.
And that area, we have no idea what it is. But the fact that there is more oxygen down there is
that's crazy.
Absolutely crazy. Because forever, we just thought it's lower in the ocean. There's no oxygen down there. Nope, there's oxygen producing things down there now.
Creepy.
There's the science side of life, alien life, anything else you want to talk about.
Crazy. Well, that's cool. That's a good update. So, any step closer that we get to aliens and knowing that they're real and they exist,
could help us find them.
I'm in. I'm all in. Now we're just waiting for that final, the really big. It's like I always wonder, like, what the step is going to be for people. Like, okay, aliens are real. Like, I guess they'll just have to show up and like actually see them.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I wonder when that'll happen. Think it'll happen in our lifetime.
We find out more. There's caves on the moon that we can talk about. We can get into the potential new things they found on Mars. I just didn't find that as exciting as the deep ocean stuff happening right here on Earth.
Yeah. No, I get that. That's gorgeous. I love a little alien update. And if there's life on other planet update.
It's okay that you find
and
it
that
mildly.
there are battery rocks.
Didn't
know there was a battery rock.
I know you find it mildly boring, but it's super interesting.
No, I like, again, any
These
step
are so
towards
cool.
knowing that there's life out there.
It's
I'm in.
Absolutely one of the things that would help us understand.
And it's just like better. A fun fact too. Like if you're at work today and you're like, hey, do you know there are battery rocks in the ocean that produce oxygen?
There's a special name for the trench, but I forgot what it was.
Yeah. So kind of fun. You could either go to your colleague and say, hey, did you hear about that kid who was dead on the side of the road? Or you could say, hey, did you hear about those rocks?
The battery rocks.
Yeah. So whatever path you really want to go with your colleague.
Whatever that colleague likes better. Maybe they're not into true crime.
Be like, hey, pick your path. Where do you want to talk
about?
Which
would you prefer to talk about? This is all I know about today.
Yep. That was gorgeous. Thank you, James. All right, guys. It is time for secret. Yeah, that's right. It's time for secrets. And if you have a weird secret, weird confession, something embarrassing that happened to you, something weird that you do, that your family does, you can call in to
SpeakPipe.
That's speakpipe.com/weird and proud pod. Again, speakpipe.com/weird and proud pod. It'll be in the description. It's also in the link in the bio on our Instagram. And you have up to 1 minute, 30 seconds. Always anonymous, unless you want to say your name, but always anonymous. And we always get a nice plethora. I kind of like lately they've been a little bit mixed up depending on where you're listening. Like what episode you're on.
Oh, that's fun.
Like
I like
that.
Hey,
I just listened to this one.
I do like it when people,
bring
back some of the old ones.
But this one we got a good mushroom story. You know how I feel about a mushroom story. All right, James, are you ready?
Prepared.
Hey, Sam and James, calling in to tell you a shroom story. So last time I did shrooms, we did a mushroom tea, and when you do it like that, it's very potent, very strong. So we were up in the woods, like my friend's house up in the woods, and doing like a camping thing. First part of the night was fine. We were all Bryan Falls, and it was fine. And then later in the night, for some reason, I had like this like weird like feeling of like being like mind connected to everyone I was with. I don't know what that like term is, but like I would like, be speaking in my mind and like thinking like that everyone around me could hear me and like were listening to me. And like I would have this like weird anxiety where like we all needed to be together. If we were all together at the same spot, whatever, like I would start freaking out, being like, what are you doing? Why are you going away from the group? You're gonna mess up the vibe. And it was just the weirdest experience. Like, I was just freaking out, and I'm not really an anxiety type of person, but I had just the most anxiety ever. And like, I would like think that I was like talking to people like in my mind, like I would say something and they would know what I was saying. It was just wild. And I haven't done shrooms since then because I just got real freaked out about it. But yeah, so love you guys. Love you. Bye.
Yeah, shrooms, man. Yeah, that's the mushroom tea is what got me. And if you've been to one of my live shows, I do talk about the time that I took a hero's dose of mushrooms, and it was a mushroom tea. Apparently too, like, you know, I had taken an obscene amount that I shouldn't have, but then on top of it, apparently if you put like lemon juice, it like even makes the effects like more powerful. And I put a bunch of lemon juice in there just because the taste was gross. So I was like, oh, I'll put some lemon juice in there.
It's tea. You put lemon in tea. That's
Yeah,
normal.
yeah. And oh my God. I mean, you guys have probably heard the story a million times now, but it's rough. And but you can also have like an amazing experience too. And again, I still haven't done mushrooms since the time I had a bad trip, but there also are like some times when it's like, you know, depending on what your mindset is, you could be like, it is nice that I'm like mentally connected to all these people, you know?
I hope she tested it. Why not the next day say, hey, did any of you guys feel like you were mind connected to me? Did anyone else feel like that they were having a telepathic moment?
Right.
Right? Maybe
Right.
ask those questions. Find out. Somebody else might have, and they didn't want to ask either.
Right.
Check in, test in on that.
Check in. Yeah, it's mushroom tea is, you got to be careful with that, but it's scary because that is the one thing is I feel like with any sort of psychedelic specifically, like it really depends on your mindset going into it.
It has to.
You know, and they always say too, it's like setting the right intentions. And like, I feel like if you're a little bit anxious or you're having a little bit of a bad day and you go in with that energy,
might not be the right time.
Right.
Is that what
it's
you're
just
saying?
going to make things worse. It just like, yeah, exactly.
It's going to magnify it.
Yeah. So, anyways, I'm sorry that you had that experience, but at least you didn't call 911 on yourself or have a mental breakdown.
Which you wanted to do many, many, many times.
But that was a gorgeous story. Again, we love a mushroom story.
Yeah,
we love a drug
thank
story.
you so much for the call in.
Thank you.
And test that out. Ask some of the people. Find
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, you never know. Could have been like a new thing. Yeah, you guys can like telepathically talk to each other. That'd be kind of cool. All right. Here is the next voicemail.
So you did a little segment last week about thrift shops, which we in the UK called charity shops for charity. And I have a really embarrassing story when I was back like a teenager and I was moving out of my mum's house. I was moving into my dad's house. And my mum was being really helpful. She was packing up bits and bobs in my room, just the last bits and bobs. And I was going through the bags and my mum was there with me. And as I was rummaging through the bag, I found a vibrator. A very graphic one with the veins and everything, which I will say I haven't used or didn't use. I don't think. I can't remember. Anyway, it was a gift. Everybody says that. Anyway, and I was so embarrassed. I was like, I don't know what to do. And my mum never left my side, not in a possessive way, but just in a she was being helpful way. And so it stayed in the bottom of the bag because I was trying to find a way, like, can I sneak it out before we take it to the charity shop? Anyway, she did not leave me a chance to remove said dildo out of the bag. So I ended up having to take it to the charity shop at the bottom of the bag. And as I took it in, I was like, I'm just going to have to run out because sometimes they look through the bags. And my mum was still with me. So we dumped the bags and ran. And I have never, ever been able to let it go. I'm mortified that someone found it. I'm mortified that my mother found it. And I hate everything about that story. But, you know, it's a funny one.
That's so funny. I'm sure, and I know we talked about this last time we were talking about the thrift store discoveries. I'm sure these people at thrift stores have seen some crazy shit.
And you know what's funny? Our next caller is a guy that found a dildo in a bag at a charity shop in UK.
Yeah, right.
Joking, of course.
Yeah,
That was, of course you're going to be embarrassed, but don't be. Let
Yeah,
it go.
I
What Sam just
know.
said.
Yeah.
They find way weirder stuff
I'm
than
sure
that.
they've seen so much crazy shit. It's always like the same thing too when like I'm nervous, like, you know, if you're going to the OBGYN and you're like, oh, you know, they're looking at my vag, but I'm like, you know, they've seen so many vages, so many worse vages, you know. And it's the same thing. These Goodwill, these thrift store workers, I'm sure, have seen some crazy ass shit. And dildo's probably like the least of their worries. Even though the only thing is I feel like it would be like kind of a pain in the ass to like touch and move. You know, they might it might be a little
They might have just thrown it out, but
I would hope, unless someone wanted to take it home, you know, you never
know.
But that cracked me up because I did think about that. We were talking about the thrift stores. It's like I'm sure like people just to get stuff out of their house or just like just drop
It's
it
in
off
a
at the
box, throw it off.
right. And a lot they're not going through and like really looking through everything when you drop stuff off there. So I'm sure people just throw crazy stuff.
I'm sorry you lost your dildo.
I know that probably. I mean, maybe you go back to that store and it's for sale.
There you
go. But if you've ever worked at a thrift store or like any, you know, sort of like donation site, I need to know like the craziest thing you found. Because again, I'm sure there are some crazy stories. Excuse me. Okay. I was also like, if you just have like a British accent, is that British? It must be.
She said the UK.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You automatically get a play. Like, I don't know what it is, your bits and your bobs, like just all your little words and the way you say things. I'm obsessed. Also, spoiler, I might be coming to London in October. I can't say why. I've told you about this, right? Yeah. But I may be coming. Okay. I can't say why yet, but I may be coming. So gird your loins. And I'm gonna need all the recommendations. All right, this secret that was called in. This is kind of like a weird science fact that I'm curious if you know that this person found out, and it's actually kind of a fun fact. Here we go.
One for James Science Corner. Do you guys know about fig wasps? This is like my favorite crazy science fact, and I'd love James to look into it more because I always get really confused. Basically, figs have to be fertilized by a fig wasp, a lady fig wasp. So for figs to be successful, you have to have a man fig tree and a lady fig tree. And you also have to have man fig wasps and lady fig wasps. And it's something about once the lady fig wasp has been jiggy and has been fertilized with eggs, it has to go into the fig through like the little bum hole at the bottom. And as it goes in, the fig rips its wings off, so it can't get out. So then it lays its eggs and its bebes in the fig, which is what fertilizes the fig. And then the juices from the fig dissolve the wasp. So 2 questions. First question, wow, and why is it so complicated? Second question, does that mean vegans, of which I am no longer one, can vegans eat figs? Ho, 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 ho. There's a question there. So yeah, I just thought that was an interesting one. Enjoy.
Did you know that, James?
I loved that call. I did not.
I know, it's so cute. Again, I love the Brit. Like, it's the accent makes everything so much
I did
better.
not know that much about the fig wasp, but she did ask to look into it, and there were 2 questions to answer. The vegan level of a fig now, which I'm intrigued to find out because there's some validity there. But part 2 would be more about why the process is so complicated, and there's really only one answer for that. It's the evolutionary process that started happening to create those.
Yeah.
Now, the fact that figs are so prevalent, partly because man makes them. I want to know more about the other types of figs that are out there, and if this process is really required for all of them. I have a feeling that this is more specific to the types of figs that we're used to.
Yeah.
I'd like to find out more about the types of figs. James' Science Corner will be a fig corner next weekend.
It really is so interesting with plants. It's the same thing too with weed, like the marijuana plant. and how like it, males and females to
Avocados the
reproduce.
same way.
Yeah,
like they're all
it's
that's
so
common in the plant world.
yeah,
so.
it's so that always was interesting, but it's interesting that like it needs to be fertilized by a
The
specific wasp.
specificity of the wasp. I need to know more about this. That was a great call.
I thought that'd be a fun fact for you that you maybe didn't
Absolutely.
know, because I always like to outstump you and see if there's something
definitely
there.
stumped.
But you know what else? In one of our favorite restaurants, Olio,
Yes.
they have this gorgeous fig tree
Yes.
in the back. And I remember I asked him, I'm like, what kind of tree is that? And he was like, it's a fig tree. I was like, oh, cool. Does it produce figs? And he was like, no, because you need
male and female.
the male. Yeah, I was like, that's a female. But I don't think he knew about the wasp. And I want to go see him and tell him about the wasp thing. But it's like fig wasps, like so you can't just like grow them in an area that there aren't fig wasps. Then
that's why I'm wondering. Like you'd
have to make sure.
I
It's
think
an area
there's
that you
other.
can find.
There's rarely there are examples, and I'm not no super expert in this area, but rarely are there examples of things that survive that have to be that specific. Like if it's so prevalent,
right?
What I mean by that is if it's a remote island where we haven't gone and destroyed stuff yet, yeah, there's cool stuff that lives in very specific environments.
Yeah.
But when things need really specific things to happen to survive, any sort of ecological shift that changes that, it can go away real fast, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm wondering. There's got to be more to it, and I'm intrigued to find out.
Yeah. Very cool. Love like a cool science fact. Yeah, if you have any like weird science stuff that you know and you want to try and stump James, feel free to also call that in. I
love science questions. I like the science questions better than me having to come up with something because it's fun to interact with people on it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. If you ever have any like weird things you want James to look into,
and I will look into the specificity of the fig plant because she did that. That's a good question. Is why is it so? Why is that needed? And that's what I want to find out.
Yeah. Fun stuff. Thank you for the call. All right, we're gonna do one more, and we're gonna end on a little supernatural spooky story, which I love. Here we go.
Hi, Sam and James. Love you guys. Love your show. So I have a couple spooky stories, so I'll try to be quick. The first one is when I was younger, I always said that like there was a ghost in the house, and like nobody really believed me. My parents are skeptics. My sister's a skeptic. And I kind of just named her Agnes, and I'm like, that kind of sounds like an old name, whatever. So I had a friend over, and one day we're in my room, and I don't have the fan on, I don't have my window open, nothing, and the door kind of like, it would shut a little bit, and then it would open, and my girlfriend was like joking around, and she's like, Agnes, shut the door. And all of a sudden, it slammed shut. I'm like, shut the hell up. And I was like, never talk to her again. I was like so mad at my friend for talking to the ghost. Another one, we have a shore house, and it used to be my grandparents, my grandmom specifically. And she passed, RIP, love you, Graham. But my sister was there last weekend with friends, and she woke up the next day, and her friends are like, hey, were you sleepwalking again? And she's like, no, like 1,000%. I did not get out of bed last night. And they woke up, and the radio was on like really loud. So she texted me, and she's like, you're never going to believe this. Graham turned the radio on. And I was like, I told you.
Creepy. It's gonna time of year where I love the spooky stories. That's so I couldn't remember if you had said what the history on the Agnes house was, or like was that something with your grandparents? But she called back in and left a second voicemail as a follow-up, just to say that she also does have some photos where there's like some orbs in it.
Sam's gonna need to see those photos.
Yeah, so please feel free to DM me the photos of the orbs, because I know some people, she was saying like some people don't believe they're real or not, but I would love to see them. And if you're cool, I can post them and see if people believe.
Sam loves an orb photo.
I love an orb photo. I love like any sort of like spooky evidence. But it's always kind of nice, like when it's a family member who's like looking, who's like residing over the house they used to live. Like I feel like that's cute and like that's fun.
Graham just didn't want all you youngins sleeping in. She wanted you to get up and enjoy the day.
Like, and a lot of times too, like I feel like when something like that happens, like the radio was turned on, like maybe like something was gonna, like, I don't know, some guy was trying to sneak into your room,
Oh,
and she's
Graham was
like,
being
yeah,
protective.
and Graham was like, I'm gonna turn the radio on to wake these guys up and be like, hey, get out of there. Like, it is always nice, I feel like, if you're related, because then you just always do, it's almost like a guardian angel, like someone's kind of watching out. But the Agnes one is always interesting too. I mean, a door slams when you say Agnes slammed the door. That's creepy.
And interacting with that sort of spirit
like an
can be
interaction
dangerous.
like
That can
that.
be dangerous then,
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
because that's where they can get attached to you or something, right?
Right? Yeah, you don't want to like fuck with that shit, like
No.
for real.
It's like a creeper at the bar.
Right. But send the pictures because I do love a good spooky photo. And if you have any spooky stories, I'm looking for the spookiest story that you got. So if you have a spooky story, anything supernatural, anything weird, embarrassing things, thrift stores, whatever you got, call us in at
SpeakPipe.
That's speakpipe.com/weird and proud pod. Also, this was something funny. I feel like this is a fun fact about the podcast. When we were doing the show in the Hamptons this weekend, someone came up and was like, I watched the YouTube for the first time and I didn't notice that James is yelling SpeakPipe.
Those girls were so sweet.
They were
so funny.
Sweet. Shout out to
them. Yeah.
You know who you are. But yeah, James is just yelling whenever you hear SpeakPipe. He's just yelling up in the air.
Yell off, little sound off.
Yeah, people. It's like
we should really,
thing.
The SpeakPipe people should be reaching out to me to use
Believe
that.
it or not, no one's paying us from SpeakPipe. I'm paying them. Actually, I have to pay a subscription to get the friggin' service. You gotta love it. All right, make sure you call us in. Leave us a secret voicemail. Also, again, as a reminder, shows at SamanthaRamsell.com/events. Get a show. Come see us live. Come giggle with us. We always love to hang out with you guys after. A lot of you guys
love hanging out afterward.
We had a really good time. We were all just giggling and having a good time after the show in the Hamptons. We always will come hang out. So we just love meeting you guys. That's like the best part of doing all this, is getting to meet you guys in person.
And the secrets at the live shows are off the
hook. The live shows are so much fun, and I'm so grateful we get to do them and meet you guys. So thank you again so much for the support. We love you guys so much. We hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, weirdos.
Love you, weirdos. Bye.